Good day, class. So, for today's lesson, we will continue to discuss Module 1 of our subject Contemporary Arts, Techniques and Practices, as well as the preceding topics involved. I'm Sergio Miguban, your subject teacher as well as your facilitator in this subject, bringing you today this podcast online discussion. So, let's get started. Module 1 Contemporary Arts, Techniques and Practices. So let's continue to discuss integrative art as applied to contemporary arts. The art is described as means of expressions that require imagination and our skill in making aesthetic object or encounters that can be shared with other people. This simply means that every person has an imaginative skills and with the use of their own intelligence and ideas. Through this, they can create a master of art that can be shared to the viewers. These objects and experiences may exhibit what is in the imagination of the artist or creator. These may also portray ideas and emotions. That is the wonderful reason why we cannot easily define or judge the meaning of every person's work of art because every art created convey a hidden meaning that the artists are trying to portray. Arts may also be used to entertain or persuade other people. So these aesthetic objects are the beautiful objects that can be created through art and encounters creates imaginative and beauty. This means art may seek to bring about a particular emotion or mood. So for the purpose of relaxing or entertaining the viewer. For example, by simply creating a painting of your loved ones, we can persuade them or even capture their hearts because of their deepest appreciations about your work of art. Another example is by means of performing a beautiful romantic songs that may entertain and touches the emotions of everyone. The arts include the visual arts and architecture, literature, music, dance, theater, and cinema or film, integrating these two. In other words, integrative arts is often intended to appeal to and connect with human emotions. Artists may express something so that their audience is stimulated in some way. Created feelings, religious faith, curiosity, interest, identification with the group memories, thoughts, and creativity. However, during the 1970s up to the present, artists began combining different art forms and media. An artist may now combine two visual art forms, such as painting and sculpture. An artist may also integrate two or more different art forms, such as sculpture and music. Another example of integration in arts is by performing dance with music and drama, just like in theater. Simply means that integrative arts as applied to contemporary arts correlates different forms of master of arts in different fields, which helps develop mutual and harmonious relationship among different art forms and media. Integrating two or more forms of performing arts is still common nowadays, even though that performing art are already integrative or integrated before the 1970s, such as the case of People's Theater. This will be discussed in this unit. The term visual arts encompasses a wide range of forms created by Filipinos. The visual arts are art forms that create works that are primarily visual in nature, such as drawing, painting, sculpture, printmaking, design, crafts photography, video, filmmaking, and architecture. Visual arts in the Philippines ranges from Western influence visual art forms to works created by folks and indigenous people. So in this statement, visual art defines and reflects our Philippine history. We all know that Philippines is an archipelago, but colonized by different colonizers. That is why every island has its own unique cultures and traditions and has its own cultural identity when it comes to contemporary arts or visual arts. For example, the arts of the Philippines reflect a society with diverse cultural influence and traditions. The Malayan peoples had early contact with traders who introduced Chinese and Indian influence. So when the Spaniards arrived in the Philippines in 1521, the colonizers art as a tool to propagate the Catholic faith through beautiful images. With communication as problem, the friars used images to explain the concept behind Catholicism and to tell the stories of Christ's life and passion. Another example was the American colonization, brought high influence to the major Filipino art, leading us to a more realistic work of arts or modernization of art. Traditionally, these visual art forms include painting, architecture. However, there are functional visual art forms in the country that need to be appreciated as well. These visual art forms have developed over the centuries. During the 1970s up to the present, artists started mixing different media in single artworks. Some of these artworks did not occupy a limited space or a part of a room. In fact, a contemporary visual artwork may occupy a whole room, filling it with lots of visual stimuli for the viewers. Artists also began non-traditional materials in media, such as cloth for sculpture and three-dimensional artworks, and an integration of agar, metal, and glass. This development, some visual art forms that began before the 1970s, are still being created at present. Truly, this shows how artistic and creative the Filipinos are. Indeed, creativity of Filipinos are a world-class talent and a best ethic to be proud of. Being resourceful also plays a big part of being a Filipino artist. Because of this, they can create a work of art with the help of the available resources or materials in their own community. Contemporary performing arts. The Filipinos are talented. Not only do Filipinos excel in the visual arts, but they are also considered to be a source of world-class performers. In the diverse field of performing arts, whether in music, dance, or theater, there will always be Filipinos that attest to the country's artistic giftedness. This part presents all visual art forms presented earlier in this introduction. However, it should be emphasized that the aim for this part is not to make a clear delineation of each visual art form. Bear in mind that tackling each art form can help in understanding further the scope of the visual art. Multimedia will be discussed in this part. So each visual art form not only exhibits the skills of the artist, but also showcase the ideas coming from the mind of that artist. Understanding the different visual elements of art is vital in appreciating all these visual art forms. So let us now discuss different types of contemporary performing arts. The first one, we have music. Filipinos love to sing. No celebration is complete without a karaoke or videoke machine. But in reality, not all Filipinos have the talent to sing. Why are they good? It is because of the culture in the Philippines. Most families have their own karaoke at home. In this way, they can enhance their own voice to become a good singer. With Filipinos fond of singing in karaoke, we can understand, relate to, and sing many Western songs. Since these are the most popular songs, we can enjoy singing them more, maybe just as much as the Western people do. This makes a great list of songs to sing at any karaoke place. Contemporary music in the Philippines is a product of our indigenous traditions and the colonial influences. Though the country is geographically located in the east, our music is heavily influenced by the Western. This is no doubt due to being under centuries of Spanish rule and almost half a century under American control. Next, we have kundiman and harana. The kundiman is a musical form that is a product of Spanish colonization. Kundiman is an art song that signifies love and affection for someone. The kundiman, like many art songs, is performed as solo vocal composition combined with an instrument or combined with instrumental accompaniment to achieve musical harmony. Scholars and historians believe that the kundiman originated from the Visayas in the Philippines. A type of love song known as kundiman has existed since the early 19th century. But in the early 20th century, kundiman had developed into art song. The term kundiman comes from Tagalog phrase kung hindi man, or if it were not so. Harana, on the other hand, was a traditional form of courtship in the Philippines, wherein men introduced themselves and to the woman by singing underneath her window at night. It was widely practiced in old Philippines with a set of protocols, a code of conduct, and a specific style of music. Next, we have ballad. The ballad is traditionally a song that narrates an event in a community. Traditional ballads are narrative folk songs. Simply put, they are folk songs that tells stories. They tell all kinds of stories, including histories, legends, fairy tales, animal fables, jokes, and tales of outlaws and star-crossed lovers. Ballad is a term also used in the recording industry for slow romantic songs, but this should not be confused with traditional or folk ballads. Many traditional ballads came to North America with settlers from Europe. Others were composed in North America and tells stories or relate ideas that tells us about attitudes and experiences of our nation. There are many examples of traditional ballads throughout the Philippines. The style varies from region to region and from one ethnic tribe to another. Some examples are the Idagdang o Bukidnon, Liyangkit Parang Sibil of Tausog, and Komposo of the Hiligaynon. Next, we have the chamber music. The tradition of chamber music was first established in the late 1700s and early 1800s by Haydn Mozart and Beethoven during the so-called Venice Classic era. It is a form of instrumental music composed by a small ensemble wherein each part is played by one player, as opposed to an orchestra, where a part is performed by a group of musicians. Chamber music is usually performed by a group of 3 or 8 musicians. Chamber music in the country was pioneered by Dr. Francisco Santiago and Nicanor S. Abelardo. Next, we have liturgical music. Liturgical music are songs intended for Christian church services. Liturgical music, also called church music, music written for performance in our religious events of worship. The term is most commonly associated with the Christian tradition. Its early form was inspired by Jewish chants during the religious ritual. Many musicians have adapted liturgical music to reflect contemporary musical styles and forms. So during Christmas seasons, Simbang Gabi Christmas or the Simbang Gabi Christian song is one of the best example of liturgy music. Next, we have the opera. Opera is a combination of both music and theater. Opera is a form of theater in which music is a fundamental component and dramatic rules are taken by singers, but is distinct from musical theater. It is a song drama that entails collaborative efforts of singers, dancers, composers, choreographers, etc. The English word opera is an abbreviation of Italian phrase opera in music, a work in music. It denotes theatrical work consisting of dramatic text or libretto or the booklet that has been set to music and staged with scenery, costumes, and movement. One type of song found in an opera is the aria, which is a song in solo that portrays the characters of emotional state. Notable Filipino opera singers include Jovita Puentes, the first Filipina to be recognized as a national artist for music, and the female soprano, Rachel Garutias. Next, we have pop music. Popular music or pop music is used to describe music that is readily available to the broad populace. It is an umbrella term that encompasses a multitude of different genres of music such as R&B, rap, rock, hip hop, dance, etc. Pinoy pop or Filipino pop music came about when Filipino musicians wanted to create music that they can call their own. These composers and musicians focused on the youth for support and gave birth to early Pinoy rock. Next, we have dancing. Dancing, much like music, is very popular in the Philippines. It is a way to bond and share our talents with the rest of the community. This can be seen on how we can easily join in the latest dance craze and post it online. In addition to this, dance is a performance art forming and consisting of purposely selected sequence of human movement. This movement has aesthetic and symbolic value and is acknowledged as dance by performers and observers with a particular culture. The types of forms of dances expressed in the Philippines is quite diverse. This is especially true for the indigenous dances of the Philippines. Indigenous dances in the Philippines are influenced and molded by various factors such as experiences and events in the community, as reflected by the war dances of people of the mountain province. It can reflect the group's values and beliefs, like the Samal Spangalay that is performed slowly with intricate poses. Next, we have aerobic dance. Aerobic dance is a dance routine made into an exercise program. It is usually accompanied by upbeat pop music. Formal aerobic dance class has three phases. The first is the warm-up, followed by aerobic dance, and capped with cool-down exercises. Aerobic dance exercise is any physical activity that makes you sweat, causes you to breathe harder, and gets your heart beating faster and faster than at rest. Aerobic dance uses your large muscle groups. It is rhythmic in nature. It can be maintained continuously for at least 10 minutes. Next, we have ballet. Ballet is both a dance and theater art. It is a style and dance technique that follows strict set of moves and performances. It originated from the European court spectacles and was later brought to the Philippines by the Americans. There are different contemporary reiteration of the ballet form, namely modern ballet, opera ballet, and folkloric ballet. Next, we have folk dance. Folk dance is the different dances performed by various cultural groups throughout the country. Generally, it is a type of dance that is a vernacular, usually recreational, expression of a past or present culture. Folk dance celebrates the cultural roots of a particular group of people. Folk dance is typically performed as a form of ritualistic entertainment at social gatherings. Some kinds of folk dance tell cultures' foundational stories, while others may simply emphasize cultural pride. Folk dance changes from region to region and is performed by non-professional dancers who are members of the said community. Next, we have street dance. Street dance is a term used to describe vernacular dances or dances that develop organically within a country. Street dance is a dance from that began in urban open spaces such as parks, streets, yards, and nightclubs, rather than in a formal dance studios. Just like here in Aklan, we have the Ati-Atihan street dance. Next, we have theater. Theater is a collaborative artwork which combines words, voice movement, and visual elements to express meaning. The field of theater encompasses not only live improvised and scripted work, but also dramatic forms such as film, television, and other electronic media. Many say that theater is the ultimate art since it is a collaborative art form that combines the various disciplines. The various disciplines of art such as literature, visual art, music, and dance. The Philippines is known to produce world-class theater artists and playwrights like Lea Salonga, Odi Gimora, Tony Perez, and Rene Villanueva. Next, we have absurd. It is a genre of modern play that deliberately exaggerates the events and situations to emphasize a point. The characters are often made stereotypes. This theatrical originated from the West. Next, we have stage show. The stage show or vaudeville is a theatrical presentation of various acts and performances. These performances may be a production of the following: comedy skits, circus acts, musical and dance numbers, acrobatics, magic shows, and the like. Contemporary forms of stage show can be seen during fiestas and in television variety shows. Next, we have the Britian Theatre. It is an example of a modern theatrical show. It also referred to as epic theater. Proposition that the audience should not emotionally identify with characters or action on stage, but instead stimulates self-reflection and critical analysis of the events unfolding the play. It is hoped that after watching the play, the audience would recognize the injustice presented and awaken change in the society. Next, we have the children's theater. Children's theater is plays that are either performed by children or by adults for children. with imaginative storylines and intriguing characters. Today's children's theater is a specialized art form that caters to audiences as young as 2 years old. Entering into the theater, kids get to suspend reality and get transported away to a make believe world or a fantasy world where anything is possible. In both cases, the primary audience are children. This type of theater production is intended to educate, inspire, and encourage creativity and value formation. Next, we have the melodrama. It is a non-musical play that is intended to elicit tears and emotional attachment to the characters. The main characters of these melodramas are often victims of tragedies who suffer cruelty from the people around them, but in the end will rise triumphantly. These melodramas are regularly seen on television. In modern age, a melodrama is a dramatic work wherein plot, which is typically sensational and designed to appeal strongly to the emotions. It takes precedence over detailed characterization. Melodramas typically concentrate on dialogue, which is often bombastic or excessively sentimental rather than action. Next, we have the dramatic monologue. The dramatic monologue is a type of play wherein an individual actor speaks and acts out of the character, thoughts, and emotions. This one-person performance is often used for the audience to better understand the main character. Some plays utilize a dramatic monologue for the entire play. In other words, dramatic monologue is a poem written in the form of a speech of an individual's character. It compresses into a single vivid scene a narrative sense of speaker's history and psychological insight into his character. Next, we have the tula-dula. Tula-dula or poem play was developed by the University of the Philippines. It is developed by Cecil De Hoya. It is a lightning play where the actors act out of a mime to a poem being read aloud by readers. The tula-dula has been used by the company in various venues and is still being used to this day. It is minimalist in attack, wherein a poem is dramatized by a narrator who recites the piece while 2 or 3 actors provide the movement and the sound effects. Many theater companies produce this type of play since it requires very little in terms of staging and costs. Next, we have the political theater. Political theater is a form of theater whose intention is to transform or improve the current system of the government. Some political dramas are direct to the point, while others use symbolism and allegory to air the political views. One type of political theater is the seditious plays, often use symbolism and to deliver their anti-government sentiments. Seditious plays are sometimes called symbolic dramas. Political theater is a term that has been used to refer different forms, theatrical style, theatrical styles, or performance that comments on political, social, cultural issues, political action, or protest that has a theatrical quality to it. Next, we have the musical theater. It is a place wherein music is an essential part of the production. Musical theater is a form of theatrical performance that combines songs, spoken dialogue, and acting and dance. The story and emotional content of musical humor, love, and anger are communicated through words, music, movement, and technical aspects of the entertainment as an integrated whole. Here in the Philippines, musical theater includes traditional Filipino theater, such as zarzuela and ritualistic dramas. This is seen with the majority of theater companies producing musicals such as the Ages-inspired PETA, Play Rock of Ages, and the repertoire of Francis Magalona songs used in Three Stars and the Sun. Next, we have realism. Realism in the theater was a general movement that began in the 19th century theater around the 1870s and remained present through much of the 20th century. Means to say it is a type of drama that provides an accurate depiction of real life situation. It developed a set of dramatic and theatrical conventions with the aims of bringing a greater fidelity or real life to text and performances. This is achieved through well-developed and authentic portrayal of characters, as well as realistic plot, dialogue, and staging.